Welcome back. In this segment, we are going to let our panelists pick the winners and losers and the best and worst of whatever topic they want to choose. The only caveat is that they must be prepared to justify their picks. Tom, let's start with you.
You're going to love this answer, Bob.
Okay.
I think the best, in terms of somebody who had the best month of September, politics is my thing, so I figured it was Bernie Sanders.
Bernie had the best month.
He had the best month. He
The
most
best day ever.
certainly did.
So how do
You know,
feel?
I've been amazed at the polls, if you've been watching them, that Bernie now, everybody said he couldn't do this, and who knows what's going to happen. However, there's several polls. He leads Hillary in Iowa and New Hampshire. He closed in within 7 points in a national poll with her. So, I think he's feeling pretty good at the moment, considering what they said was going to happen. And I noticed the other day, now Bernie Sanders does not use any PACs. He refuses money from PACs. He's the only candidate running for president doing this.
Other than Donald
Other than
Trump.
Donald Trump, who's financing
Which
his own.
financing his own. Bernie
his own PAC,
is
yeah.
Bernie now is the least wealthy of all the candidates. Now that Scott Walker has dropped out, because he was the poorest, he was in debt. So Bernie's, but what he's doing, he has nearly 1 million individual contributors. He's just about to reach that, which says a lot. He passed Hillary on Twitter in terms of a number of, mentions per day, whatever. He just passed her. It's very interesting, I think. So I think Bernie had a great month, and we'll see what happens.
Do you have a worst?
I do have a worst.
Let's hear that one.
You want the worst too?
I
The
want
worst.
the worst, too. Let's hear the
The
worst.
worst was poor Scott Walker. He
Scott
went. Now and it's a very interesting tale, I think, of the way about campaign financing. Now here's Scott Walker, a man who was touted as in the top tier to begin with. August, less than 6 weeks before he left the race, he was at a meeting in Orange County, California with 450 millionaires and billionaires. He won the straw poll there, 6 weeks before he left the race. But, these people are really in charge. He spent most of his time worrying about courting the donors instead of courting the voters.
Right.
And he's paid the price, had a couple of bad debate performances. Well, they weren't up to snuff for his donors. The money was going to dry up. The guy's in debt. The last thing he wants is more debt. So he's out. He tried to say it was, clearing the field so Donald Trump could be getting rid of.
Right.
But let's face it, there's a very interesting thing here and worrisome that a lot of these candidates are never going to make it to the voters in Iowa or New Hampshire and beyond because their big donors are going to decide whether they want them or not. And I think that's bad for the country. But, Scott Walker.
What about you, Carl? You got a best?
I do, and actually my best is if you look at all the possible presidential candidates. We've got a new NBC poll out, came out earlier this week. Now one rates far above all the others, regardless of party, in favorability, and that's Joe Biden. So I think Joe Biden is having a very good week this week if he decides he wants to run. But he's got a 40% favorable rate, which is a whole lot higher than anyone else's. Sanders has got a 10, Clinton's got a -8, Carson's got an 8, Trump's got a -33 for crying out loud. I think, of course, now Joe Biden hasn't been subject to a lot of recent scrutiny that a lot of presidential candidates have, but he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, well,
so
I was going to
is a
say
known
he has
quantity.
always been scrutinized.
Yeah, so he is a
people are just
well-known
waiting
quantity.
My
to see what
favorite
comes
one,
out
though,
of
is
it.
this one here.
Yeah.
He is a very
I wonder if
seen
the
very
number 2
favorably
pencil.
by the American
Why
public.
it's the number 2 and not the number 1.
I've
What
got a
about your
worse
worst?
too.
Okay, what's your
I've got a worse. I think this is going to come back and bite Donald Trump in the rear end to no end. And I'll give him credit though; he's being upfront and honest. He put his mouth where his money is in his case, and he actually gave us a little hint on what his tax plan would be.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that tax plan is just going to come back and bite him when the middle class realizes that it's just not something that is going to do a whole lot for the American middle class.
50 million people aren't going to pay any taxes at all. That's not helping the middle class?
Yeah, I think you're going to find the middle class is the one footing the bill on that when businesses aren't paying their taxes.
Well, you know what? This middle class has been footing the bill on a lot.
Been
the
doing it
last-
for
right,
a
so it
long
doesn't matter,
time.
right. What
yeah,
about you?
This is true enough.
What do you have for us, Jim?
So I have a winner. My winner is my hometown of Williamsport, Maryland, who it was announced by the governor that there's a $7 million set aside or earmark for a project for relative to the C&O Canal. And in my opinion, one of the big three things that this county has going for it is that C&O Canal and Antietam Battlefield and all of those kind of
Well, all the
national park
historical,
resources,
yes.
the
What about a
historical
loser,
pieces.
though? What do you got for a loser?
Well, can I finish, Bob? Or
Yeah, you're
are we
running out of time, that's
Yeah,
fine.
well, that's because you turkeys ate all my
We ate all his
time.
time up, so.
Have you done one yet?
No.
Good.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't have a loser. I have another winner.
Oh,
Smithsburg High School
you
just
violated
got
the
a
rules.
major. I don't care. I'm the producer. I'll set the dang rules. How about that? Smithsburg High School
Yeah.
got a wonderful award, and we were talking about the school system earlier. That's how we roll in Washington County. Congratulations, Smithsburg.
Yes, and I vote.
Sorry, Bob.
okay. I did have the biggest loser, but I got to scratch that now because you're it, and the do as I say, not as I do category. But anyway, my biggest, I'm going to go the worst first, okay?
Okay.
My worst is the worst excuse by an elected official to vote against something, well, lately, okay? And that was Kristen Elshire. And, he said that he couldn't vote for the medical marijuana facility or have that ordinance because, it went against how he felt that the United States Constitution was. All right. I got something for you. Mr. Elshire. All right. You took the oath of office. I understand we all did. All right. In the oath of office, it states not only once, but twice, it talks about the Constitution and the state of law of Maryland. Okay? So that means that actually, had you voted for this, since that was passed this last session, okay, in Maryland, that if you voted for that, you would actually be upholding your oath of office and not actually going against it. So that was the worst excuse ever by an elected official. The best that I have, and I got to tell you, and this kind of plays into that, is that the Washington County officials are headed to South Korea to seek business prospects, okay?
I saw that.
And they're going for an inside facility to grow plants. All right? That's what they're going for, okay? So that kind of plays hand in hand with this ordinance that was passed in the city of Hagerstown last night, or Tuesday night, okay? So yeah, that's great. I always complain that they don't get on a plane, they don't get on a bus, they don't do something and go see somebody. They're going to see somebody. My only drawback
Here we go.
is that it's going to cost anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 for this trip, and they're using hotel motel tax money to do it with. That's my only drawback on this whole thing.
That's a pretty big drawback.
That's a pretty big drawback, but if they would supplant, because they figure that as soon as these people sign this agreement or whatever, they're going to look at reaping like 60 grand almost right away. So, okay, guess what? Put that back into the hotel motel tax money that you took that $20,000 to $50,000 out of, and you'll make me feel a whole lot better.
But let's look at something else here. We were paying the previous EDC chief $110,000. We're paying this person $50,000. So we can make one of those trips every year.
You get what you pay for, Jim.
Well, that's true too.
That's all I got to say. And on that, I got the last word again. So next up, the panel discusses the recent sell-off of several radio stations and TV companies by Schurz Communications, the parent company of Antietam Cable. Stay with us. We'll see you in 3 minutes.